Cyclades Legendary Edition, Herman Miller Mirra 2 Butterfly, and Mario Kart World. This is staying in.
It's a shame that Dan isn't here with us this evening, because I was going to ask a child-related question.
Dan is the youngest.
Yeah, I've been a child. I have some experience of being one.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Maybe you can answer this question. Also, I apologise for any background noise. I'm currently on location in London.
Yep.
And it is incredibly noisy. So I do apologise, but it also makes it sound quite exciting. So basically, the question I was going to ask Dan was, is it okay to lie to your kids?
What kind of a lie are we talking here?
Yeah.
Is this a white lie that's actually it's in their best interests?
All right, okay.
Or is this something for you to feel better? I don't know.
Well, I'll let you make up your minds, okay? So, we went to the wonderful island of Kos recently for a family holiday.
Mm-hmm.
Several families went out to go there. It was, the first big sort of holiday that my son's been on. Like, he got to go on holiday with his best friends.
Yeah.
Like at the age of 4. And isn't that incredible?
Memories.
I didn't get to go on holiday with my best friends until I was like, when did we go to Frankfurt?
Yeah, like literally the 30s.
Yeah, literally like a couple of years ago. So we went on this big family holiday, and I thought, okay, before we go, I'll get you something to play with on the beach and in the sea. So I got him one of these. I don't know if you've seen them, but it's one of these balls that you push down, and the ball collapses into a frisbee. Then you chuck it like a frisbee, and then when you catch it, it pops up into a ball again. Then you squish it down, chuck it like a frisbee, and you pop it. It's fantastic.
Wow.
It's both of the great beach sports all in one. It's frisbee and it's a ball.
Perfect.
So I buy him this toy. He's very, very excited about it, but in a typical preschooler fashion, is not interested at all in playing with it when we actually arrive in Kos. So me and the dads take it. Right, we've got it now. This is our toy. However, now someone else is playing with it. Suddenly, it's top toy, and it's do not lose that ball. I'm not going to lose it. Don't worry. Do not lose.
Sorry,
that
is
toy,
this the kid saying this? Don't lose the ball.
Yeah. Do not lose that toy, Daddy. Do not lose that toy.
They've got you.
We're not going to lose it. We're just chucking it in the sea. Don't worry about it. All right. Straw poll. How long until we lost that toy?
The moment your son turned away, went off to the bar with his mate.
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
you're not far off.
Absolutely.
It was probably about 4 or 5 minutes of us being dads in the sea playing with a children's toy that eventually, it may have been my fault, that eventually that toy is now at the bottom of the Mediterranean. And we lost it. And if you've ever been around children, especially at that age, they have got a sixth sense for when stuff is happening to their stuff.
Right.
And almost the moment that we lost sight of the ball, he comes running up to the shore, and the waves lapping up against his toes. You can see that we're not playing with a green ball anymore. Bottom lip starts quivering, chin starts wavering. Where's the ball gone?
Oh dear.
And suddenly, quick as a flash. Well, you see, son.
Yeah.
Good start.
Okay. Yeah.
There was we were playing with the ball and having a good time. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, there was this noise, and there was this.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this dolphin, it just came from nowhere, and took the ball and then swam away. What, really? Oh yeah, you betcha.
Okay.
What an episode of Flipper that was.
Yeah. I mean, the problem with this that I can foresee is Were you saying, is this at the start of the holiday or is this at the end of the holiday?
I think it was day 2.
Right.
Day 2.
Okay. So my assumption is that you're now going to have to keep this lie going.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of my perception of it, in terms of what can I say that would just get him to understand the situation, stop a potential meltdown, and just make sure it's just not mentioned for the rest of the holiday.
Yeah.
2 of those things I did really well.
Yeah.
The third one, not being mentioned for the rest of the holiday, that didn't go so well.
No.
Because then suddenly it became big news.
Yeah.
Big news.
Yeah, you've mentioned a magical animal. Like you've
well,
dolphins do exist, Pete.
Dolphins.
No. I know. No, hold on. I know dolphins
it's not like
exist.
they're at the same level as the unicorn.
No, I know dolphins exist, but what I'm saying is dolphins are special. They're magical. They're like they're. Oh my! Did you see the dolphin? If you said, "Did you see the dolphin?" There's not a single point where somebody would turn and go, "Nah, I'm not that bothered."
Yeah, it's not a seagull.
My son is not one of these people, and so I told him that this fantastical thing had happened.
Yeah,
and immediately goes running off and tells every single parent he can see, "You never guess what? You'll never guess what's just happened." And then, as the holiday went on, obviously there needed to be a lot of assurance. Did that really happen? Is that really? Yes. And then it just came out of me in terms of and then because the dolphin needed the ball for their family because they couldn't get a green ball for their yes, and it told us about it's got its own little boy and it went off.
You're deep in the lie at this point.
Deep undercover.
Couldn't stop digging myself into this lie. So now it's canon, and in terms of the Turner law, we now live with this thing that has happened and is real.
How are you gonna get out of this? Because ultimately,
do I need to?
Yeah, of course you do. Because otherwise you're gonna go to your deathbed. And you're going to share a beautiful moment. Do you remember when that dolphin stole that ball? And you're going to have to say, "I'm really sorry, but..."
Well, I'm hoping he's going to listen to this before that.
He won't listen to this.
Daddy, I've just listened to that one podcast episode. Oh, dear.
Oh.
Sit down.
Yeah.
Please.
Let me get you a hot drink.
And he turns up in his dolphin shirt and he's become a marine biologist.
Yeah. Still on the look for Echo, that very talented dolphin.
The one thing that, as I said, I'm currently on location out in London. And I was speaking to my son, not about dolphins, before we started recording, just to say goodnight. He's gutted that I'm here. And it's not because I'm not there with him, but because I brought my Switch 2 with me. And he said to me, "Can you just make sure on your forecast, bless him, that you talk about Mario Kart World?"
Right,
okay.
Yeah.
So you've spoken about this before briefly in a previous episode.
Yeah, briefly. And I was slightly lukewarm on it. When I originally got the Switch 2, and I think some of that was probably because it really felt like the Mario Kart games that I have played before. I think that was a bit, I was a bit peeved at getting a download code and not a physical copy, even though it's a game I'll probably never trade in. And all that kind of came into it. But I think I've now just done a complete 180 on the Mario Kart World experience, and it has been solely due to seeing it through the eyes of a child. And I think we've spoken briefly on this podcast before about, the fact that we are getting older and sort of recognizing and really respecting the fact that a lot of modern media is probably not made with us in mind.
Yeah.
No.
Much anymore, and it kind of sounds a little bit sad to say, but there is plenty of stuff around for us.
Oh yeah,
We're fine.
tons of stuff.
Yeah.
We're okay. We're doing just
right.
fine.
Yeah, we'll be.
But
We're catered for.
But there's definitely stuff that I used to enjoy, which is still around. So, say for example, Mario Kart, Marvel movies, whatever, that is definitely trying to find a new audience. And I didn't realise that about Mario Kart World when I was first playing it, because I was just doing the racing, which is kind of like, well, this is what Mario Kart is. You just do the racing. And they've got this whole open world mode, and that's a bit, that just feels like a fad from the late 2010s, as every game has got an open world mode in it. However, my son absolutely loves it. Absolutely loves this open world mode. Because what it essentially does is turns Mario Kart World from this competitive, very rigid gaming structure into an interactive toy that he can just play with and experience how he wants. And Nintendo, been a toy company for hundreds and hundreds of years. Hundreds, yeah. Know how to make toys for kids, and their best games are just playgrounds. And Mario Kart World in this open world mode is exactly what he needs at his age, but it's been such a revelation to him in terms of what video games can be. And in my, slightly selfish dad ways, I have wanted him to grow up appreciating the same things that I appreciate now. I want him to understand, board games. I want him to be gaming literate, in that way. So it's been really fantastic for me to see him slumped on the couch like a slob. I think I've sent you guys some pictures of him
absolutely hilarious,
belly out,
very cute,
lying down, almost completely horizontal, playing Mario Kart World on my Switch, but absolutely loving it. And he loves it in a way that only a child can love it. He's exploring it, he's creating little jumps and journeys and tracks, and finding the highest peak he can, and then just launching the car off and then descending and crashing into the waters. He's doing stuff in that game I didn't even know, could actually happen. The other day, he turned around to me and said, "Look, I'm in a UFO." And I'm just like, why are there UFOs in Mario? This is not my Mario Kart World. So yeah, it's been, I feel like I've just done a complete 180 on that game, and how I think now it's just absolutely utterly fantastic. And I was completely wrong to assume that Nintendo had no idea what they were doing with their own properties.
I've had a lot of experience of working with people who think that a perfectly balanced game, or a really meticulously clever puzzle, or a really elegant bit of design is the way that you sell games. And actually, one of the earliest things that I learned was the phrase, "What is the sizzle that you are selling?" And the thing that the person who told me that was trying to get across was, sometimes you're just trying to sell the fantasy. Sometimes you're trying to just sell the novelty, right? I like to think a lot about novelty. Games deal in novelty all the time, and the most boring games to me are always the ones where you go, "Oh, is that game? No, it's the one that looks a bit like it, but it's not quite that. But is it this one? No, it's not that one either. It's got a different." So, for example, there's and no shade on Souls-likes, not for me, but there was a Humble Bundle recently, and it was the Souls-like bundle, And it was like 8 games, and they all looked very similar, right? It was all like grim, medieval, Souls-like gameplay, like very, very similar, all that kind of stuff. And I think a lot of people you can follow that path to the nth degree and make the smartest mechanical design for a Souls-like, but at the end of the day, it's just not very exciting because it's not new. It's not something that you've not seen before. It's not, it's just the new thing is, we're doing exactly the same thing, but we're setting it in the French Renaissance. It's like, okay, great. Whereas I think things like when you see a lot of the friend slop stuff that's happening at the moment, that's like the big trend at the moment. Your repos, your peaks, like things along those sorts of lines. They are all really novel, right? It's like when those first-person simulation games came out. House Flipper came out. When our Goat Simulator, when our beloved Power Wash Simulator came out, you can't not have like some kind of reaction to that game because it is so different. And I think that there's a lot of temptation, I think, to look at things like series like Mario Kart and say, why are they changing the formula and what are they doing with this thing over here? And it's like, yeah, no, but they do actually understand that their audience is evolving, that it's changing, that it's becoming, that they have to bring new people in, right? And to do that, they want different experiences. And ultimately, if you just got more of Mario Kart 7, they could have just republished that, right? And done even more tracks. But I think it would have been really underwhelming. But it's a perfect game. Like, it's an amazing game, right? Like, they sold it twice. It clearly is very good, right?
Yeah, this is what I wanted to say, really, because that sandbox element to it really does speak to children, and that idea that you can give a child a ball that turns into a frisbee and they can create an entire world around that. So for your son, what other people could see as being incredibly boring, there's nothing new happening here, for them, like playing with toy cars or toys full stop, they're building this entire milieu or world that kind of surrounds it. And they're also building the rules of that world or trying to understand the rules of that world at the same time. And also, like, okay, I'm in a UFO now. What does that mean in terms of this narrative I'm telling at this moment? That's exciting. For some players of an older age would be thinking, that's a bit of a random thing. Okay, what do I get out of this? For a child, it is the novelty to the utter extreme.
It's new.
It's experiential.
New. It's why we can have conversations about characters with people who are 30 years younger than us, right? We can talk about Spider-Man and we can talk about Captain America and we can talk about Iron Man and Wonder Woman and all these different characters. We can talk about all of those characters because they're looping the same kinds of arcs, right? But it's new to that new generation. It's like, my Spider-Man was Ultimate Spider-Man, right? Cool. Well, mine was, clone era Spider-Man, and before that, silver era, golden era, all that sort of stuff. But you can have those conversations and you can talk about the broad strokes of that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's all brand new. When people discover like Venom for the first time, it's like, wow, what an amazing idea. But also, it's been around for 50 years. You might remember a few episodes back, we talked about Arcade Archives 2 Ridge Racer.
Yes, a name that trips off the tongue.
We were actually very kindly provided some codes for some more Arcade Archives title by the publishers Hamster. So I've taken a bit of time to look at a few of the more recent ones, and they were very kind to provide the ones that were essentially based on kind of very similar hardware to the Ridge Racer game that I talked about last time. I wanted to talk about both of them as kind of like a 1-2 punch. mostly because they are both not as worthy as Ridge Racer, but more interesting that they got releases, right? So to recap, Ridge Racer, like I Arcade Archives 2 Ridge Racer, I basically thought, well, this is a great idea because, you know, you're essentially building out more metagame on top of a very straightforward set of, you know, very small number of courses, one car, very small number of modes, but you've got all this online leaderboard play, and that really extends the game out. And because it's so mechanically smart, this game, you know, it's really fine and precise. It works really well. The two games that I've been playing recently are Arcade Archives 2 Air Combat 22 and Arcade Archives 2 Aqua Jet. I believe that's their full titles. And they're both Namco games, so similar setup for Ridge Racer. If Air Combat 22 sounds familiar, it's because I don't know if it actually is a prequel to Ace Combat. I'm not actually 100% sure on that one, but we talked about Ace Combat.
Yeah, we have.
Quite a while ago now, and I really loved Ace Combat.
We certainly did.
Great game. And I played the original Ace Combat on the PlayStation 1 and all that sort of stuff. Like, yeah, I really like that series. Air Combat 22 is a very arcadey version of that, and what I mean is, it's kind of like it punts you immediately into the action. You are immediately dogfighting, like, you know, whipping the cockpit around, locking onto targets, trying to shoot your Vulcan cannon, trying to, you know, lead a target with your guns to try and shoot ahead of them so that you hit them. It feels very limited. It's actually got quite an interesting branching structure that I think some of the Ace Combat games also later did. But it's got this kind of branching structure whereby if you do certain things, like if you're at a really high altitude when you finish one of the levels, you're playing on a certain difficulty level, then you go one branch of the path. But if you're at a lower altitude, then you go on another branch, and it includes all of that information actually in this again, part of the meta like manual of the game. It basically tells you how to play that game and see more of the game and all that good stuff. And that is really cool stuff, because being able to see all of those different things is really, really interesting. It is very, very limited. It's not as exciting, I think, and it's a little bit more, I don't think random is the right word, but it's a little bit more difficult to kind of control. So to get better at that game, I'm sure you absolutely can, but it's not a challenge that I particularly am interested in trying to do. But it is really cool and it is really exciting, and you play it for an hour or so, and it's an absolute blast. Very exciting, very low poly. You know, it looks great, and it looks very much of its time, but it feels great. It looks good. It's even got like gyro controls. In fact, all of them have gyro controls. I completely forgot about that. Didn't say that last time, but it has gyro controls, so you can make your controller kind of act a little bit like a joystick, like a proper, you know, throttle and joystick kind of situation that you might find in an aeroplane. It's cool. It's really interesting. It's not, you know, I think it's maybe a little bit too expensive, but it is definitely one that if you're curious about it, chuck it on a wish list. The next one is Aqua Jet, which is a little bit close to Ridge Racer in that it's kind of like, do you remember Wave Race 64?
Yes.
Absolutely.
What a game. So Aqua Jet is basically that, except for in like the even earlier 90s. It was released in 96, and it is a visual powerhouse. It's got like really incredible, again, for its time, really incredible wobbly textures all over the place, great models of the vehicles and that sort of thing. It's even got like wave physics at times. I think maybe physics is perhaps a little bit generous. It's kind of like very, very standard. You can't really impact the physics itself. But the but again, it's close to that Ridge Racer thing in that. So there are 2 main courses, and you can put in good times, and you can do highest jumps, which is like there are these ramps, and you can get these high scores on the jumps. Mostly you're trying to compete against time, and again, it's got the same modes as Ridge Racer. So it's got a time attack mode. It's got the original mode, both in Japanese and I think US modes. So you can play the arcade originals in that way. There's a high score mode. There's what's called a caravan mode, which I think is where you basically go through the lowest difficulty to the highest difficulties that's been set. And again, you can post online scores for all of those things. I would say if you're an online scores junkie, like Aqua Jet is probably the better one for that kind of stuff. And all of these also have all of the bells and whistles that you would expect. So they support things like really interesting modern things. So, for example, it supports things like VRR, which is called variable refresh rate, which is basically a fancy way of making it look as if the screen is updating at a similar speed to how you might see in the arcades. It's got difficulty settings, so arcade operators, they would be able to set the difficulty of the game to like basically eat more credits or eat less credits, like be a little bit easier, that kind of thing. This is just a standard thing that they had. You can play around with all of those. You can make it look as if it's being punted out on a CRT. It's got filters. It's got remapping. It's got for buttons. It's got all sorts of things along those lines. Again, it is a really fun, well put together arcade game individually with lots and lots of options. It's got all that. And Aqua Jet itself as a game is fun and bright and over the top, and it is what I love the most about the arcades, that really brash, bold, what is the sizzle that you are selling stuff that, like we talked about earlier, of like, while not necessarily the most mechanically dense, they are definitely exciting and fun, and you can't help but laugh and have a fun time with them. The reason I think that they're fascinating though, and again, if any of this sort of stuff sounds good, absolutely. Like I think Aqua Jet is well worth the money, if that sounds like your cup of tea. And I think Air Combat 22 is a really interesting curio that is worth popping on a wish list. But more than that, I would say that it's just been really lovely to play these games again, whereby, again, this is like the first time we've been able to play these games legally, and on the System Super 22 hardware, like this is a 3D engine, and I'm sure MAME can do all of this stuff now, but like this is very obviously, these games have been treated with a lot of care and a lot of attention. It's very obvious that people really, really care about these games at Hamster.
What do you think is the best way to actually experience these games? Because I think, for me, part of that arcade experience is the largeness of it, the grandeur of that experience. Like at the end of this week, I'm actually going to Arcade Club in Bury, which is not too far away from me, which is a place I need to take you, Pete.
I would like to go, yes, please.
It's 3 or 4 floors, I think, of nothing but arcade cabinets and pinball machines and early consoles. It's incredible, but the thing that always stays with me when I go to those places, and NQ64, which I'm sort of on the fence of as a kind of experience. Part of me really loves the fact that they obviously love arcades and the playing of games, but then they're also serving up like Bowser shell cocktails and all this kind of nonsense. It's kind of like the things don't seem to mix, but I always have a great time. But that's maybe because of the Princess Peach mojitos. But for me, like, is a Switch screen okay? Or is it, the biggest screen you've got? Like, or does it actually matter?
I think experiencing them is, I think it kind of depends, and we talked a little bit about this last time, but like, I think it really depends on what you're into this for, right? Like, if you're the sort of person for who video games are like a hobby, like a genuine, I want to learn more about games in the same way that I can do that about a record collection, for example, or a, if you're into, I don't know, if you're into like football, for example, and you collect memorabilia, those are different experiences than, just going to a bar and listening to a band or turning up to a football match every now and again, right? They're just slightly different experiences. I think if you're the sort of person who's like a game historian, you want to see like the evolution of video games, and you want to see the evolution of video games that have not been easily accessible in the past, that were very much of a time and of a place. The time being the 90s, the place being the arcades. Like, this is, it is not easy to get hold. It's never been easy to get hold of these games. You would have had to get cabinets and all that sort of stuff. So if you're interested in seeing the evolution of video games, and in my personal opinion, I am, then these are fine. You play them. You want to play them on a Switch in portable mode? Yeah, go for it. Like, you'll start to understand what those games are. For me personally, the perfect environment for these is, if you can't see them in the arcades, is by getting something like an Arcade Archives. What I would do personally, and this is a little bit like, how people say, I'm going to get some candles, I'm going to run a bath.
And play Arcade Archives.
Yeah, exactly. What I would do is I would get a beverage that you particularly enjoy. I would close the curtains. I would turn the lights off. I'd put it on the biggest screen that I could possibly get. I would turn it up loud.
Yeah.
And I would go into it just like, I'm just gonna have a ton of fun with this thing, right? Like, I'm gonna chomp down a bag of Skittles, and I'm gonna like experience the giddy thrill of these arcade games, like big, cartoonish, exciting, loud, thrilling, dumb, like all of these sorts of things. Like, that to me is the more exciting part, and I think the more you can engage in that, big telly, big sound system, fun evening of like, and just accept that you're going to spend 2 or 3 hours, tops at a time with these kinds of things, and have an incredibly fun time. That to me is the way that you want to experience them, to get like the most out of them, because that gives you that sort of bombast that I think the arcades really, you walk into an arcade and it's loud, and that's really what you want.
It's a dark day. It's a dark day, Peter, when I feel like, because we are approaching that age, but still it is a dark day when someone puts on the list of stuff that we need to talk about, to talk about on this podcast, is a chair.
And thank you, listener, for not skipping past this time code in the show notes.
Well, they won't, because like me, I had to search for what on earth you were
actually this is. Yeah.
What this madness was. So I think everyone's coming to this point just to find out what on earth is going on. And let me spoil it for you. It's a chair. It's got wheels, it's got arms, it's got a back.
Sam, it's not. No.
How beautifully reductive of you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a chair in the way that, like,
Go on.
In the way that a chalice is just a bucket.
He got there in the end.
Yeah.
He got there in the end, yeah.
So yes, okay, yes, it is a chair. But for the last year and a half, or 2 years, I would say, I tend to get quite bad back pain. I do a lot of driving for my job. It's like roughly around 2 hours a day. And for the last 15 years or so, my desk chair at home has been one my brother gave me, which I can't quite work out if the tilt function is deliberate or not on it. When I moved house, I took that to the tip. And
I bet they're loving that.
They are just spinning around, doing their own version of Mario Kart World.
Yeah, absolutely. I can never work out because I moved house recently as well. I can never work out whether working at the tip is a really exciting job or a really terrible job.
I think it's a bit of both, isn't it? Like you get to see all the cool stuff that people are getting rid of. You get to work with toxic chemicals, and
toxic masculinity,
and you get to have a bit of power over people as well. No, engine oil goes there, mate. Come on.
I just like to hope that they rotate between their jobs, because there are some jobs at the tip that are better than others. So, for example, there is a marked difference between the person who gets to go in the digger and crush the stuff down
fun.
Versus the person who is sat there on a stool waving down each car and asking what their postcode is.
No, I'd love that.
Well, they're about to get a better seat to sit on.
Yeah,
so
you're absolutely right, Sam. So I was looking for a chair. Like I said, oh, look, okay, I can't anymore.
I can't.
I just can't. And I put, because I know a lot of people, yourself included, Pete, who work from home. So there's you, there's Dan, your partner works from home, Pete, as well.
Yeah.
And I said, look, can you recommend a chair, please? Because my back is basically a stack of pebbles. And the one that you both recommended was from the company Herman Miller, which are an American company that make very good desk chairs. And for a while, my algorithm was just full of videos of people reviewing chairs. And I would argue video is probably a better medium to do this than what I'm doing right now when reviewing a chair.
Sure.
But I just imagine that all that video is just people sitting down and going,
oh, that's nice. That's really nice.
So I found a chair, and crucially, I found it in the right colour, because I really love like yellow stuff. And the thing that irritates me a lot about desk chairs is they all tend to be really boring, kind of black or grey.
You're not looking at it, you're sitting on it.
I know, but the first bite is with the eyes, Sam.
It's a piece of furniture, like, you know. It's
an objet d'art.
Well, it certainly is, yeah.
And so this is the butterfly chair, and I watched a review online of just somebody basically showing you how you set it up. And, you know, this took me back to like unboxing videos, or when people set up their console for the first time, what that looks like. And so I sat in the chair, and my wife was next to me, and she said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "I think I'm going to cry. This feels so good."
It's going to sound... It's going to, like... Because, again, I desperately don't want people to skip to the next section, right? Because this is really important. I just want to put it into perspective. If you work from home... I've just done some quick maths on my phone. If you work from home, and let's say you work 8 hours a day, right? Let's assume you also work 5 days a week, right?
Yep.
Let's assume, and it's not true, but let's assume there are 4 weeks in a month. Every month, right? And there's obviously 12 months in a year.
We know there's 52 weeks in a year, but go on.
Well, I didn't think about that. So, but let's say that we're going to go
working professional here.
No, because actually, Sam.
And when you go on leave, you stay in the chair.
Exactly. I'm
lunch break, you stay in the chair.
Yeah, it's basically the holiday time is what that's accounting for. Anyway, shush.
Okay.
Basically, you spend in a year nearly 2,000 hours sat down if you work from home, right? And 2,000 hours every year. It's like when people say, "Oh, I don't really want to spend a lot of money on a mattress." It's like, this is one of the most important. You use this object like every day, right? Like, and getting a chair right is really important. So many people messed their backs up during COVID because they were like, "I'll just sit on my sofa and work on my laptop," right? And it was just like, what are you doing? So it's really important to get a chair, and these things are not cheap.
No, they're not,
but they are pretty good.
But but it arrived. All I had to do was take the lid off the box. I didn't have to assemble anything. It arrived, fully set up.
Yeah,
and it was just a case of wheeling it in, sitting down, I can determine how far it tilts back or forwards. The flap at the front of the chair, you can determine how much that lifts up or down, so it can kind of scoop up and hold your knees. The arms go up and down, but also to the sides and rotate in and out. But to be honest, the best thing is the lumbar support, because I was looking into originally getting like a gamer's chair, but I really hate the look of those chairs. They look awful.
Oh yeah, they are. I mean, my opinions on chairs are well known by this point, but I just want it to be known that gamers' chairs, like gamers' headphones, are utterly abhorrent. They're awful.
I like gamer chairs. I don't have one. I think they look cool, but I am there with you on. I am there with you on the headset. The headsets are awful.
But are you one of those kids who really wanted in the early thousands one of those chairs which wasn't a chair, it just sat on the floor like a big sort of plastic banana, and it was just like, so it didn't actually sit on legs, it just rested on the floor in like it had speakers in the headrests and like controls in the side.
Yes, Sam, the coolest chair in the world.
And they're not. You don't get a gamer's chair that's like in like pastel colours. Like they're just all like abhorrent, like they've been ripped out of a racing car.
No,
that's what I like about them. Anyway, tell us about.
So this for me is just like, it's a beautiful thing. Like, and originally I was looking at gamers chairs because I was worried about neck support, but I've realised that actually often the reason why your neck aches is because it's doing a lot of lifting, because your lower back is not properly supported, and that's where the lumbar support comes in. And being able to rock back and forth occasionally just loosens that up in a really lovely way. And that's it, really. It's a lovely chair. I am still, when people come round, I ask them to sit in the chair just to try it out. Look at this chair, because I'm very proud of it, and it has genuinely changed my life. And honestly, I'm not lying when I said I nearly cried, because the back pain I've had has been awful. And to just have that feeling almost instantaneously while sat in it seems magical. I didn't think that would be the case, but it genuinely is a fantastic piece of work, this chair.
There's definitely things where I think you don't have to pay a lot of money for something to get something good if you're clever, right? But there are definitely some things where I go, no, you just need to spend the money on this one. And like, I think having a good chair, especially, again, we are working from home. I use this sometimes I'll play games in this on my computer. I'll spend a weekend at my computer writing or, putting up the post for the podcast, for example. Like, we spend so much time in these things, and I've definitely got to the age now where I feel like the things I'm most interested in are things that just make my life slightly better. Like, just not like having a new thing or having a new game or having a new book or whatever it is. The thing I really love is just the thing that makes my life just a little bit better, a little bit more like, And so it sounds, Chris, like you're basically sort of saving your health. Really.
Yeah.
There's already been a touch of the Greek in this pod so far.
Yep.
It's actually quite thematic. I think we've done quite well. I'm sure arcade is a Greek word.
It is, yeah. It means market, doesn't it?
Probably.
I believe you.
And the Greek gods were known for sitting a lot on stuff. Doing a lot of sitting.
Yeah.
So we can round off a bit of this show by talking about a legendary version of what is quite a legendary game, which is Cyclades. Have either of you heard or know of the game?
Oh yeah,
Cyclades.
Bruno Cathala.
Mm-hmm.
No, I've never heard of this one.
So it was originally released in 2009. And then it was basically kickstarted later on with a final sort of release in 2024 under the guise of a Legendary Edition.
Right, okay.
And it was also a chance for the designers and the artists involved with Cyclades to revamp and redesign a bit of the base game experience, change some of the gameplay mechanics, and ultimately make the game probably not what it should meant to be, but refine it based off of several, nearly a couple of decades worth of player feedback and interaction since this point.
Yeah.
So it's a really interesting prospect, and Cyclades going into it, I was really trepidatious because it, just reading the rule book and watching some stuff online, especially around some of the Kickstarter culture that unfortunately I feel like shrouded the game a little bit. It really feels like a game that is going to be overly obtuse and complex and not very sort of engaging and inviting, because it marries up a couple of lots of different sort of mechanics, from auctions to area control to a bit of light sort of skirmishing. And I was very, very sort of concerned about whether these things would all mash together and where there would be, how they would all marry up to make a game experience. You can probably tell by my inflection how I'm talking that it actually does it really, really well. I came away from playing Cyclades actually very, very impressed by the actual experience of playing the game. And it's a very, very strong start when you're getting a modular board out. Love that. And as we all know, Cyclades is an island area of Greece. So the first thing that you do is you build that island area, and I think that is one of the changes that they made to the design from the 2009 to the 2024 version. Is that you build the islands that you're on before you play the game. And that sense of creation is great for two reasons. First of all, it means every game is slightly differently. And the second reason is that you allowing the players a bit of investment into this world you are creating. You are creating this world of gods and monsters and Grecian fighters. And you've really got to be invested in it, because otherwise it just doesn't land. Okay. So in Cyclades, you each play like basically a group of Grecian fighters, and you can enlist the help of several of the Greek gods, the big powerhouses, in order to help you conquer some of the lands. And how you win is by building metropolises, and metropolises are built when you control areas around the board which include 4 different buildings. So for example, you control a temple and a fort and a university and a port. That means that you've got all the constituent elements to build a metropolis, and that is something that you then put on the board. The first player to get 3 of those ends the game, and then the player with the most wins the game. So it feels like at first, and I think this is where a bit of my concern came from, it feels like at first a bit of a race to the finish. Mm-hmm. It feels like it's a game about dominance and a game about fighting above all else. But actually, it is about those things, but it's also about a lot of other things on top, which makes the game so superbly balanced in a way that the several times I've played it, we've all done different things. Some of us have been very aggressive and fighting. Some of us have been very sort of slow out the blocks and slowly building up resources to eventually, take advantage later on. And each of those games have come down to the wire in terms of who actually claims victory, which I think is always a sign of a very, very good game. It's always the thing that I look for at the end of like Euro games, like how close are the scores at the end, because that gives me a great indication of like how well this game has been put together.
How brutal is it, Sam? Because one of the things that put me off it was that from the outside, at least, and maybe that's something they've refined with the Legendary Edition, it looked quite cutthroat. We're talking lots of high player interaction here.
Yeah.
You haven't really got, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not like to start off with everyone's in their own separate areas and they've got time to build up, and then we start to interact with each other and it's who's going to make the first move. You're pretty much interacting with each other from the beginning, aren't you, through the auction and things like that?
Yeah, so I think the game is sort of split into two sort of areas. There is like the board area where where let's say the mechanical interaction happens, and then there's the auction area, which is where the player interaction happens. And at the start of the game, you are quite locked and limited in terms of how far you can move, how aggressive you can be, because you can only, on your turn, you can only do what you are willing to pay to do at the auction. And this is the crux of the game, is that all the actions are determined by which god you align with at the auction for that round. So if you want to fight, if you want to be aggressive, if you want to get more soldiers on the board and move them around, you've got to pay the money to be Ares' best buddy. If you want to get some boats on the board and sail around a bit, you better put some money in Poseidon's pocket, or else you ain't doing nothing. And the game works in this way that at the start of every round, there is an auction where you need to commit a certain amount of money and outbid other people around the table in order to do the action you want to do that turn. So what that does is, even though it feels like it is going to be really combative, it actually really, and this is going to sound sort of damning with faint praise, but it actually really sort of slows the game down and really gives it this layer of consideration in terms of, oh, I really want to do that on my turn, but actually if I do this, I could maybe either block another player from getting more troops, or I can at least make them pay more to get the troops that they want, because then if they want to move, they're not going to have the money to do those extra actions and move on their turn. And the auction takes on this this layer over time where it suddenly becomes more and more nuanced the more and more you play with it, to the point where, when we were getting to what we knew was the end of the game, we were all thinking 2-3 steps ahead in terms of the auction, because the auction works on this like league table position, right? Which is whoever is at the top god will take their turn first, and then turn order goes down. So people weren't only bidding for actions, they're also bidding for turn order slots in order to make sure that they could get what they wanted on the next turn. And I love games that do things and encourage players to do things like think 2 or 3 steps ahead and strategize, and you are encouraged to really understand the mechanics, really understand the details of what it is that you are doing. And it just naturally occurs as you are playing the game, because of this mix between, right, you've got the mechanical interactions all over here, and then you've got the player interactions all over here. And that's what I love, is like there was this moment where we're all interacting as a group of players around the table, like who's going to bid what for the auction, and you can try and sort of force someone to pay more than they want, or you can, really sort of like create this mood in the auction where you can end up bidding for things that you don't really want, and then you end up having to do like actions that you don't really want to do, and it's really, really funny. And I think that the game itself is also one of those things where, as turns go on, turns get longer. And I always really love that in a game as well, where the first turns, everyone's just doing things slowly, plodding around, building a little university here, or putting a port there. Isn't that lovely? And I've just hired Cerberus to come and marshal this little area here. Oh, fantastic! And then at the end of the game, you're all taking, and then I'm doing this, and then I'm moving there, and then I'm moving this. And you said, Chris, in terms of it feeling cutthroat, and there is a real cutthroat aspect to it, but I think it's one of my favourite cutthroat mechanics, and it's one of the ways that the game remains superbly balanced right up until the end. And it's the one rule that states it is the player who is in control of the most metropolises at the end of the game. You could go through the whole game building all your metropoli, right? But if at the end of the game you get shoved out of that area through a battle or whatever, or some mechanic which moves soldiers out of the area, and then suddenly Pete jumps in and goes, right, I'm in here now, now I control them, I win. You could literally go through the whole game, which is, I think that's how actually one game ended, where someone just sat back the whole game, let everyone else do the hard work, and then just came in and just stole all the land and took all the metropolises for themselves. And though how frustrating that was in the moment, I applauded that little bit of game design that allowed that to happen.
Would you say this is your favourite Bruno Cathala game? Because Bruno Cathala has designed or worked on a lot of games. So Sea Salt and Paper, Jamaica, Seven Wonders Duel, King Domino, Shadows over Camelot, which is a game I've never played but always wanted to, because I think that was one of the first board games of the modern age that had a traitor within it.
Yeah.
But they are an incredible designer with an incredible back catalogue of games.
Yeah. I mean, Seven Wonders Duel is one of my favourite games of all time.
Yeah. I love Jamaica.
Favourite Bruno Cathala game. I think Raptor is a great shout. I've always had a real soft spot for the simplicity of King Domino. If there was ever a game invented for board game cafes, it was King Domino. I think that I think that design for me is just something that just is so simple and delicate, but yet so rewardingly rich. It's superb. But Cyclades is definitely up there in terms of marrying really strong player interaction with actually some really interesting mechanics. There are not many games that can pull that off really well. You either go for lots of strong player interaction or really, really dense mechanical experiences, and it kind of hits a sweet spot right between those two things. Also, I'm a massive sucker for an auction game.
Oh yeah, you are, aren't you?
Yeah. It's the gambler within me. Just love them. Okay. Brief review time.
Go on.
Hollow Knight Silksong. It's all right.
There we go.
You heard it here first. It's all right.
There we go.
It's all right. I'm 4 hours in.
It's all right.
It's not my progress of Donkey Kong Bonanza on the head. And then the other day I was tempted to buy Everybody's Golf Hot Shots.
Ooh.
But I've heard it's not good.
I'm this close. I can't believe that it's not good.
That's the thing with me. I cannot believe that game. I mean, it's not been made by Clap Hands, but I cannot believe that game is quote unquote not good. So in the meantime, I'm gonna continue playing Silksong. Also, big shout out to Backyard Baseball 97.
I'm this close to buying that. I saw it the other day. I was like, What is this?
You're this close to a lot of things, Pete.
There's a lot of good stuff around at the moment.
But not so good that you jump straight into it.
No, I've got to be careful. I've got to be very careful with my time.
Backyard baseball, right? I played that on the flight to Greece, and my wife was just like, what on earth are you playing? Because you are just playing as a group of young American children.
Yeah.
However, that game is absolutely superb. Like, it's wonderful. The level of detail and animation and love and personality that they get into that game, it's astounding. And the fact that the reason why I bought it is the fact that you can build a team and take them on basically like a legacy league. And in terms of like things like body positivity and diversity,
really?
And it's like to take a metaphor from the game itself, like they really do knock it out of the park, and how genuinely lovely and vibrant that game actually feels.
That's cool.
Feels to play. I think that I got it on Switch. It's okay. Controls all right. Takes a bit of getting used to. Because I think originally it was a PC game, so I think that a mouse feels like the right place for it. But I'll tell you what, man, I've had some really tense baseball matches on that thing. Like, it is good.
Okay.
Sorry, there's a helicopter going overhead. I think because Trump's just landed.
Has he? Oof.
Yeah, yes. So there's a thing in my hotel room that I've not seen in many hotel rooms before.
Okay.
I've got myself a little kettle by my side. I'm going to do most of the Foley for the podcast in my hotel room. I got a nice selection of teas and some decaf coffee. I've got my little safe.
Yeah, these are all These are all standard, Sam. These are all standard.
Standard kind of stuff. But there's one thing in here.
Go on.
Which I've only ever seen in American hotels and like hotel movies. I didn't even know it was a thing.
Go on.
Do you want to guess what it is? Shall I make the sound of it and see if you can guess?
Yeah, go on. Make the sound.
There we go. I'll. That's it. Go and then.
Oh.
Is it a Gideon Bible?
There isn't a Bible in here actually. It's an ice cube holder.
Or an ice bucket.
Or an ice bucket, as it's called, yeah.
I don't know, chalice bucket, all the same, man.
Yeah. Because an ice cube holder just sounds like something that just holds a single ice cube.
Yeah. Is that rare? I mean, I suppose.
Well, for me and Sam it is, Pete. Not for the kind of places you stay in.
Well, I can also say I've not seen an ice cube dispenser in this hotel yet. So it definitely feels like...
Yeah, that is one of those things, isn't it? You think to yourself, like, it's all very well and good that you have these, but how am I meant to fill this thing with ice?
Yeah,
absolutely. So pull your finger out, Radisson Blue.
If you've ever found anything in a hotel room that was a bit odd, stayinginpod@gmail.com is the email to let us know about it. If we find anything odd, we'll also put it on our Instagram. Or do we have another social media? Oh, we're on. Apparently, we have. Well, we still have a Facebook. Technically, Instagram's the one we like. Staying in Pod. I
think Facebook just mimics whatever we put on Instagram. So
is that right? Yeah. Okay. Well, be on one of them basically. What else? Where else can people find this, Chris?
Well, on our BGG page, you will find links to Cyclades, which Legendary Edition, which Sam spoke about earlier. Unfortunately, we haven't got access to a chair repository. Otherwise, bet your bottom dollar the Herman Miller Mirra 2 Butterfly would be on there.
It'd be right on there. Number one of question mark.
The furniture that made me cry.
And you can also... and we have got links on stayinginpodcast.com to all of these things, including our Steam page as well, Steam curator list, all that good stuff. Basically, all of those pages you can find previous stuff that we've talked about that we like all that good thing. And you can listen to every single episode that we've ever put out for free on that website as well. You can also listen to what are we going to put on our Spotify playlist for this episode?
I imagine those two games, Aqua Jet and Air Combat 22, are going to have a banging soundtrack.
The soundtrack for Aqua Jet is stunning. Absolutely stunning.
Right. I think that about does us for everything. We've covered everything, haven't we?
And then some, yeah.
And then some. Right, okay. Goodbye, everyone.
Take care. Please just take care.